In 1910, two explorers began their quests to become the first men to ever set foot upon the southernmost point of the Earth, the South Pole. It was the heroic age of Antarctic exploration, and the South Pole represented one of the last unexplored areas on Earth. Robert Falcon Scott hoped to claim the bottom of the world for England. Roald Amundsen wished to plant the Norwegian flag there on behalf of his countrymen. Despite their common goal, the two adventurers' approaches to their expeditions were quite different, as were the end results. Scott patterned much of his trek along the lines of a previous unsuccessful expedition undertaken, and he had followed the same route to the South Pole. Amundsen, on the other hand, took an unexplored route and gathered information on the area's stability. Amundsen felt that it was a risk worth taking, as it positioned him 60 miles closer to Scott's, which meant a savings of 120 miles approximately round trip. From a barrier, Amundsen pioneered a route no man had trod before, and he took the straightest path possible to the pole. He had no idea what kind of terrain he'd face en route to his goal, but he was prepared to go up and over it. Amundsen had one goal, and one goal only: to be the first man to reach the South Pole. Scott's expedition, on the other hand, had dual purposes: to get to the pole first and to gather scientific information about the Antarctic. These goals were at times in conflict. To reach the pole first, time was of essence, while scientific work and surveying required slowing down and making careful observations. The logistics of Scott's expeditions were complex. He started out with 16 men, 23 dogs, 10 ponies, 13 sledges, and 2 motor sledges. Differences in speed between these various forms of transport were a logistical nightmare. The motor sledges, which hadn't been tested in Arctic-like conditions, quickly broke down. The ponies were ill-suited to the climate and the terrain and had to be put down. Scott did not feel that the dogs were reliable, and he sent them back to camp. That left 3/4 of the journey there and back to be completed through man hauling. In contrast, Amundsen's expedition was very simple: 5 men and dogs all the way there and all the way back. Dogs were low-maintenance haulers. They could be fed a variety of foods. They were quick and fast and could take the burden of hauling off the men. Scott based his preparations on the conditions he had experienced on his previous discovery expedition. But he didn't prepare for the worst. For his part, Amundsen left nothing to chance. He designed his own goggles, skis, dog harnesses, and pemmican. Amundsen and team, as part of their preparation, worked 9 to 5, 6 days a week, honing their equipment and clothing, and getting all their plans and gear shipshape. Amundsen spent a year working on one of the most crucial parts of his preparation: the positioning of the depots on the way and to from the pole. Because the men could not carry all the supplies and food they'd need for the 1500-mile journey on the sledges, depots were placed at intervals along the route before the actual expedition began. He packed the depots with 10 times more food than Scott's. Scott hatched his depot laying plan once he landed at the starting point and gave his men just a week to divvy up the supplies and calculate how much to stock at each depot. The depots ended up containing enough food to sustain the men, but just barely. Amundsen placed a line of 10 black flags spaced a half-mile apart on both sides of his depot. If the men got within a few miles of the depot, they would run into one of the flags, and each flag was marked with its distance to and from the direction of the next depot. Scott marked his depots with just one flag. Amundsen reached the South Pole first. Scott arrived at 90 degrees south only to experience the crushing disappointment of seeing one of Amundsen's flags flapping in the wind. He would never make it back. He and his 4 companions died of starvation, exhaustion, and exposure on their return. The outcome of any endeavor is decided by the weights of a scale. On one side lies fate, risk, circumstance, and on the other, preparations, tactics, heart. One cannot know exactly how much will be loaded on the luck side of the scale, but we can overload the other side as much as possible in hopes of tipping the chances in our favor. And this is what Amundsen did. Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, and skillful execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. 2014 has been a year of uncertainties. Late monsoon, crop shifts, drought-like scenario, confusion on subsidy, and many more, but some of us could still challenge those uncertainties and emerge as winners. Meet pioneers Amundsens, who did not lose focus on their goal and prepared to achieve the desired outcome. As they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Divashankar Singh, RBM, Allahabad. Ramdhari Singh, ABM, Lucknow. Sachin Kumar, RBM, Patna East. Harnik Joshan, RBM, Ludhiana. Kamlesh Patel, ABM, Ahmedabad. They have all shown us the way. The question is, do you want to be one of them? Do you want to be a Roald Amundsen?